Sleepy little Esther, stupid little Esther. She's in California. She's become a weird adult.
Hey everyone, I'm really excited because today is a first of many things. Actually, it's not a first of many things. It's a first of one big thing. But I'm going to tell you why in a not so weird way. First of all, the guest today is very sexy. Second of all, the guest today is a woman.
Woohoo!
She's a girl. She's a lady. She's a beautiful creature. Here we have Felicia Michaels.
Wow, that's a very sweet introduction you just gave me.
Your phone goes off within the first minute of my podcast.
Okay, sorry.
Don't, you guys, this is why women are just too difficult. You try to engage them and then they just blow you off to look at their phone.
That's not so. I turned it down for you.
Thank you.
So
I feel like I just got really possessive over you really fast.
I love your room.
Well, it's not my room.
It's not your room?
No, I don't live here.
Oh, I thought you lived here.
Oh, no.
Oh, who lives here?
That's why you were all impressed.
I was all like, wow, someone loves IKEA and is very organized.
My bedroom is 90% podcast studio, 10% bed.
That's what I know. That's what I thought. I was like, you are not fucking around, my friend.
That would be so intense.
I totally thought this was your room.
Wow, that's so weird. You thought I was so weird then.
So this isn't your equipment?
No.
Oh, I thought you organized this equipment.
I was wondering why you were so impressed, but you have your
holy shit.
That's 'cause you have your own podcast studio in your pool house. Would that be?
It is a pool house, but it's kind of a garage. Mm-hmm. But it's my guest house, my fancy studio.
It's very nice. I like your guest house. I did Felicia and Joey Diaz's podcast last week, Beauty and the Beast.
This is what girl podcasters do when they have crushes on each other. We do each other's podcasts.
It's true. But not just girls. Guys do it too.
That's true. That's
they do their cross podcastination. We're 12 into this lovely, and this is the first woman. You're the first. Wow. I'm actually, so I'm going to try not to get too like creepy, stalkery here, but I do have a lot of questions.
Okay, get to it.
So I hope you like being interviewed, because if you came here just to chit chat about the weather, you came to the wrong podcast.
All right. Wow. The only other comic that's ever really interviewed me is Jimmy Schubert.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't do interviews for all my podcasts. It's like if I'm really curious, which I am. So I want to ask you, like,
okay,
first of all, where are you from? Like, how did you get your start in comedy?
Well, I'm an Army brat, so I grew up a little bit everywhere. But one of the last places that I grew up in was Fort Carson, Colorado, which outside there was a small town called Fountain, Colorado. It's right where Colorado Springs is. And so when I was 18 years old, I had become a stripper.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so...
How did you come to that decision?
Well, I grew up, my mother was handicapped and we lived on welfare. And so, it wasn't great. And when I turned 18, social services told my mother that if I wasn't going to college and we couldn't afford college, we didn't have a car. So we're in a little town of 7,000 people in like military slum apartments. And so we didn't have access to even get to a college. And so when I turned 18, they said that unless I was going to college, that they would take away my mother's housing.
Oh, because it was paid for. Okay.
Yeah. And my mother was German, so a few months before that, after I graduated high school, my aunt gave me a ticket to go to Germany. And I was dating this guy who was a GI. And when I was in Germany, he was in a terrible accident. And 2 people died. And his brother got jacked up and he was announced DOA. There was a girl in the car. And she's like, half her side was paralyzed. Like, it was this crazy accident. And he would always write me these letters. This story is going to have the end, though. He would always write me these letters when I was in Germany, when he was in the hospital. because we had dated right before that happened. And so when I came back, he picked me up, and like I felt guilty that because he would write me these letters like, the only way I got through this was thinking about you. Like I was fucking 17 years old. Like, you know what I mean?
How old was he?
He was like 22, 21,
Okay.
22. And so when I came back, like he came and picked me up and I walked right by him. It was the first day that he was even allowed to drive his car because he was fucked up. And he had lost like 70 pounds. He looked like shit. And I didn't even recognize him as a person. I walked right by him. And it was this really weird time in my life. And then he took me to my mother's house. And that's when my mother told me, you know, you're going to have to, we have a problem. You can't stay here when you turn 18. So he asked me to marry him. So I got married to him.
God.
This is a crazy story, right? So we got married because I just felt like I had no choice. And I also felt like at that point I could have stayed in Germany with my aunt. And that was my mother's family. And they were basically like, you should abandon your mother. It's a lost cause. Stay here. We'll take care of you. You go to school. So I felt very guilty about coming back. But I came back and we got married. And then about 6 months into the marriage, he became very violent towards me. And the second time he kind of came after me, I realized like this is never going to change. Like the first time he did it, I gave him a chance. And the second time I was like, this is never going to change. So,
that's really rare for someone that's 18 and is
Yeah.
so vulnerable for them to be like, oh, this isn't going to stop.
and you have to understand the culture of women in that environment at the time, and I still think it exists today, but I could be wrong. It's like when my father was in the army, when you grow up around military people, you're kind of the idea is you're probably going to turn 18 and marry your high school sweetheart who's going to be a GI just like his father, or you know what I mean? Like that's what you're going to do.
Wow.
That's all my girlfriends by the time I got married, they had already had their first kid and had been married and dropped out of school. I mean, it was like, that's just the way it was. So when it happened where he came after me twice, I thought I better get out of here before I get pregnant because then I'm fucked, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember the day that I left, he was going to work and he was still in the army, and I literally was at the door like, bye, have a nice day at work. It was the day after he came after me. It was in the kitchen. And he was like, all right, bye. And as soon as I closed the door, I picked up the phone and I was like, hello, U-Haul? Like, I'm going to get the fuck out of here, you know? And so I moved in through happenstance with this girl that I wasn't even that friendly with in high school, who during high school went to the community college and got like a nurse's assistant kind of thing happening. So at that point, she was already working at a nursing home and she had her own apartment in this really shitty part of Colorado Springs, off Nevada Avenue, South Nevada Avenue. And, but she's like, I have an extra bedroom. You can be my roommate in my apartment. So I go into this. I didn't even see the apartment. I just had to get out somewhere, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I go into the apartment and, you know, I would try to find a job. I'd go to fast food places. I just had no luck. Take the bus everywhere. And I read in the paper that they were looking for receptionists. And so the office building where they were looking, the office was near the mall, Colorado Springs Mall. So I take the bus out there and I walk into this vanilla office building and I walk into a very official looking office, and there looks like there's rental furniture and it's very spare. And I walk in and it's this beautiful woman, probably 29, 30, sitting behind the desk and very like pencil skirt on, very chic. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here to fill out application for receptionist. And so I fill out the application. I have no fucking skills. I'm like 18 and a half years old, right? And she's like, looks at my, you know, resume, and we discuss it. And she's like, yeah, you know, you don't have any skills. But we do have jobs where you don't really have to have a skill. And it's to be a dancer or a hostess at some bars in town. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, this place called the Peppermint Lounge. And I grew up driving by the Peppermint Lounge all the time when I was a kid, all the fucking time. Like when a nice neighbor would take my mom and me to my mother's doctor's appointment, you know what I mean? Like we would drive by it. My mom's wheelchair would be sticking out of the trunk. And I remember even as a little girl, like, oh no, one of those days I got to fucking see the inside of the Peppermint Lounge, right?
Were you like, ew, or were you like, thought it was
I was
cool?
like, I was scared, you know, like I wasn't like, ew, titties and pussy. I wasn't like that, but I was scared because I you know, and literally when I think about that moment when she said that to me and there was like fluorescent lamps on the table, I literally flash on her smiling this big toothy smile and the fluorescent from the lamp making a little like glimmer on her, you know, fang tooth. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, this is one of those moments, you know? And so I was very polite, but I got the fuck out of there. And she had given me her number and all that. And I took the bus home and it started to rain. And it's so cliche, but it started to rain. And I walked home in the rain to this shitty apartment. And I'm in this shitty apartment. It was shitty too. There was like layers of mold in the bathroom. Like it was fucking disgusting. And I was sitting there and water starts dripping out of the ceiling light. I mean, like pouring out. And I was like, this fucking place is a tinderbox. Like, I got to get the fuck out of here. And so I called her up and then I said, yeah. And she goes, I'll try that. And she goes, well, there's this contest at the Peppermint on Tuesdays and it's a wet t-shirt contest. And so, so I swear to God, Esther.
Hey, when you're 18, it's like, sure.
But that was when, I mean, let's put it in perspective. Like nowadays, if you had a friend that was going to be a stripper, you'd be like, I don't know, dude, you know, but it's like, fuck, there's titties and pussy everywhere nowadays. And like 20 years ago, it wasn't like that. It was it was like, oh shit, you're about to go to hell. You know what I mean? It was bad news.
Especially where you're from.
And we're not talking like professional strippers like in LA or New York. We're talking like motorcycle chicks that fucking their dude drives them off the mountain every day so they can shake their skanky pussies in front of GIs. Like, we're not fucking around now, right? So I go to the thing and I decide, I'm so cliche, by the way. I'm so boring this way. So you had to pick a song from the DJ. So I picked Highway to Hell by AC/DC, which was very popular then.
That's a really great stripper song.
Totally.
Classic.
And so I was so scared and they gave me like tequila and stuff. Guess what? When I walk in, they had two stages. One stage was in the to the left. You would walk into the middle of the club and to the left was the main stage. And it was very big. And I walk in and there's mirrors and there's strippers in raincoats washing the mirrors to car wash, you know, cause all the girls rub their stuff all over the mirrors, you know, but it gets all oily. So like twice a night they do this thing where they play the song Car Wash and the strippers would sexily actually wash the mirrors.
Oh gosh.
And then right when you would walk in, there would be like this little stage and it was probably like 3 feet round. And I look on the little stage and you know who's on the little stage? The majorette from my high school's band. I am not fucking lying.
God.
I am not lying. Her name was Tommy and she had the prettiest titties too. And I looked up and I was like, oh shit, it's Tommy. And look at her titties. They are really pretty, right? And she's like, Felicia? You know what I mean? Like,
was she embarrassed or was she like cool?
No, it was like, bro, you're finally here. Even though I didn't really know her, you know, but it was like, yes, we will be co-witnesses in this, you know?
It's a good sisterhood moment.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. And so then they do the contest and I was so nervous and I had like cowboy boots and tight jeans and I had this plaid sexy kind of shirt, I suppose.
Did you use your real name or did you have a stripper name?
No, I went by the name Stevie.
Ooh.
That's hilarious. Because I used to have like long blonde hair like Stevie Nicks. So I was like, fuck it, Stevie. And so I go up. And it's packed. Like and the thing about in Colorado Springs, the type of men in Colorado Springs are A, GIs, B, cowboys from the outskirts, like literal cowboys, Air Force guys, and what was the third? Oh, Olympic. That's where the Colorado Springs is, where the Olympic Center is. So I'm up there and I'm doing like the whole Courtney Cox in a Bruce Springsteen dance because I can't dance. I have no fucking soul, you know, in me whatsoever like that. And I'm sitting there doing it. And this old man comes up and he throws $101 bills, and it's raining money. And I'm like, I have found my calling. I was like, thank you, Lord. And then there was the Olympic hockey team was there, oddly, and they all lined up, and they all gave me $1, and I was just like, this fucking rocks. And so I did that contest. I won, and I made probably about $400, and that was a lot of fucking money back then.
That's a lot of money now.
That's
girlfriend.
a lot of money, right? So I went back about 6 or 7 times. And
were you fully naked, or like
that? I would unzip my pants a little bit, and I would take my top off because fuck it. And guess what? I have nice boobies too.
You do.
They're not big, but they're all right.
I can vouch. I don't want to skip too far ahead, but you were a Playboy playmate.
I wasn't a playmate. I was just in Playboy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I wasn't a professional whore, just a whore. So
I've seen your boobs. They're amazing.
They're okay. I mean, So then they said, you can't come back. You have to work here. And then that was like, oh, fuck. This is another step. So I was
They said you can't do the contest again. You have to get a job.
Yeah, you have to work here now. Yeah, because the jig is up. Everyone knows. You've been here 7 weeks in a row. You are not the new girl. Move on, sister.
Yes. Now you're like moving up the ladder.
I've missed out on being a fresh faces so many times in my life, and that was the first time. So I decided, okay, I'm going to work there. I'll just work there like twice a week and make enough to get my. I didn't even know what I was going to do with my life. And
where's your mom at this point? Is she aware of this?
She was. Yeah, I told my mom, and she was totally fine with it. Because my mom was German, so they're it's a looser thing over there. You know what I mean? She wasn't like jumping up and down. Well, she couldn't anyway, but because she was in a wheelchair. But she was, like there gets a point that you understand that someone has to make a move to get you and a loved one in a better place. There gets that point, and it was totally like, this is what I'm gonna do.
I feel like also most moms just, if you're making money, they're happy. I mean, with some sort of, that's not like always true, but
right,
you're doing a good thing, you're making money, and
right. I mean, there's just comes a time when you do what you got to do.
Right.
Yeah. And I recognize that earlier than most.
Which is a good quality.
You know what? It has been later in life, I feel,
all throughout. Yeah, I think that's like, I'm very intrigued. Well, because I read Jenna Jameson's autobiography. I don't know if it's called How to Make Love Like a Porn Star, and she talks about her days as a stripper, and it was just the most fascinating, exciting thing for me to read.
It was a really cool experience. I mean, it was a really amazing experience to try my hand at stripping because, there's people that fall to the wayside that are strippers, that can't deal with it. But that's like anything in life. If you, were a roofer, there's some roofers that, fall to the side, because they can't deal showing up every day on time for whatever fucking reason. Like that's just the way life is sometimes, And it was very interesting because at that point in my life, I really felt like I had no power. Like, I'm going to be real with you for a minute. My parents got divorced when I was younger. My dad never wanted anything to do with me just for the fact that I was a girl, and told my mom that, and said to my mom, you take her, and by the time she's 15, she'll be pregnant and, fucked up and all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. And my mom used to tell me that. And sometimes, like I have kids now, and when people parent now, I don't mean to skip around so much, they're like, you have to shield your kids from the truth. And I think that's all well and good, but sometimes you have to say stuff to your children in order for them to understand that it's time to fucking motivate yourself. And for me, I always carried that around because I never wanted to be, when all my girlfriends did get pregnant at 15, I didn't want that to happen to me. So I didn't make great choices, but I made different choices because I just felt like I couldn't let my mom down in that way.
Yeah, I can really identify actually with that, just in the sense that I have 2 cousins who are my age. Like I just, in our big family of, extended family, it was me and 2 others that were, all born at the same time. And I remember hearing like, oh, so-and-so's pregnant again. So the both of them had babies, I think, by 21, which is relatively early now. And for me, it was like, oh, I have to make a different choice. Like, I'm not going to make that choice. Because half of my family is like, my dad is like this Jewish, comes from a good suburb. Like, he has that, sort of more educated background. Whereas my mom's family is kind of all over the map with like babies and hunting and all that stuff that non-Jewish people do. So I was very afraid to fall. Also, pregnant before married, like that kind of thing. So I understand, like, what I really identified with what you said was like, I had to make a different choice. I had to make something else happen.
And by the way, when we're talking about that, it's not a judgment for any woman that ever finds herself in that position. It's totally not a judgment.
No.
So anyway, the first night that I went to go work at the Peppermint Lounge as a professional, I walk in and the owner's like, you got to go downstairs, the locker room's downstairs, because when we did it before as non-professionals, you just had to go put your tight jeans on and whatever in the public bathroom. But now you have to go downstairs to the locker room, and I go about halfway downstairs and I hear like a scuffling going on. Something's going down, and I peek around the corner as I go downstairs, and there's these 2 biker chicks in thongs and like cut off little, tight wife beater t-shirts, and they are beating the fuck out of this other dancer, and she's on the ground. They're like kicking her. It's like fucking, you know what I mean?
Oh my God,
like,
that would be my exit right there.
No, it was fucking tough. And I was like, oh shit. So I turn around and I walk back up the stairs and I go and see the owner, and I know not to say anything. I'm not stupid. So I was just like, oh, it seems very crowded down there. And he's like, stop fucking around, go down there and get dressed. I need you back up here on shift. And so I go back down, and as I'm going back down, they walk up, all 3 of them, the girl that got the shit beat out of her the last and kind of crying and whatever. And I was kind of standing there like midway, and the one comes up to me and she's like, you didn't see anything, right? And I'm like, fuck, I didn't see a damn thing, that was my introduction. And I went and got a locker and, had a little outfit, and I fucking did it. And it was scary, but it reclaimed, and reclaim is probably the wrong word, but it gave me power to strip. If sometimes when you're stripping and you're on stage, it's a fucking turn on to turn a man on, because it's power. You know what I mean? And so it was during that time then where this comedian came in, and he knew the majorette girl, and Tommy, and she was like, this guy is here, and blah 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 blah. And I just thought that was the most, a comedian is at the Peppermint Lounge in Colorado Springs. Like, what the fuck there was no even comedy there at that point. Like, what the fuck is going on? And he asked me out. And so I'm not going to say who it was, but he asked me out. And
a comedian asking a stripper out. It's very
hard to believe.
Very appropriate.
Hard to believe. And you have to remember, I'm 18 and a half years old, right? Because this happened like within the first couple of days of me working there. And we go and we meet at this restaurant, and he breaks out cocaine on the table like I'm fucking full on. This is the 80s, dude, And I was all like, oh shit, some shit's going down.
In a restaurant?
In a restaurant, yeah. I think he was just trying to show and be tough or something. Like he thought I was hardcore. But I was all like, nah, I don't do cocaine. And
had you ever?
No, not at that point. I smoked a lot of pot, or did some Black Beauties, a couple of hits of acid, but no, I no, because no one could afford cocaine where I was from.
Right, that's the rich people drug.
Yeah, you would go shoplift some speed out of the drugstore. You know what I mean?
I'm starting to feel like I never lived. Like, I'm 24 now. Like, you're by 18, you've been married.
Oh, I know. Crazy, right?
It's like, I've really been sheltered.
Yeah.
But so he breaks out cocaine.
So anyway, so we just started going on dates here, and he never did that again. I have to say, he never did that again. One night he took me to Denver to go do a comedy club, and he had a spot, and I was just like, what is this, and I had a couple drinks, and there's this girl comic on stage, and she was like bombing terribly, and I said to him in my 18-and-a-half-year-old drunken stupor, oh, I could at least get on stage and bomb. You know what I mean? Like, I've been on stage showing my tits, oh, big talk, my friend. So he's like, okay, then why don't we'll do an open mic in Colorado Springs and I'll put you on. And I was like, okay. And I couldn't, back myself out of it, So it was at like some rock and roll club in Colorado Springs. My mom came. And like now, even thinking about if I had to do a night in Colorado Springs, like at an open mic one, I would shit my pants. You know what I mean? But I was like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking do it, And,
blind confidence.
I know. He helped me write a few jokes, and I wrote a couple of my own, and he taped the piece of paper with all my joke lists on the ground, and I went up there and I fucking killed. My mom saw it, like I fucking killed.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, yeah, the same thing like when I took my shirt off. This is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And that's how I got into comedy.
Wow. And then so from there, did you just like what brought you to LA? How did that?
So during that time, like I worked at a club. A club opened, and I worked at a club, and
A strip club or
no,
a comedy
club.
Oh.
Like I did tickets
Okay.
at a club, and I cleaned the bathrooms and vacuumed the club. I cleaned the club, but I got
How do you go from making a shit ton of money as a stripper to making shitty money as someone cleaning bathrooms? Like, how do you have the willpower to be like, okay, I'm going to turn down $400 easy for like $20 difficult?
Right. I could see at that point, because I probably did it at that point, not very long, for about maybe 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I could just see, the thing is, when you do something that, like, I can sit here and be all big talk, like, I could deal with it, and I could deal with it, but I could also see, when I started really stripping, I never did drugs or drank during that period, because I was like, this has to be pretty straight. I can't fuck around. And I could see, like, what is the purpose of this past a certain point? Because at that time I was the youngest stripper in the strip club, and I would look at the oldest strippers in the strip club. And there was this one woman, and she had to have been like now I would say 45, but she's probably 36, and she looked really rough. And she would come in and she would wear the goofiest, because that was just a topless place, and she would wear the goofiest, like, stripper, nylons and big ol' like grandma underwear bodysuit, and she would just take like one, it was like maroon, and she would always dance to Men at Work, that first song. What was that first Men at Work song? You know what song I'm talking about? Yeah, I would come from the land down under, and she would take one top of the leotard off, and a big old sloppy boobie would come out, and she'd take, you know what I mean? Like, or I would hang out.
No phrase pains me more than sloppy boobie. You really got me with that one. The cringe. It feels like there are leeches on my skin right now.
And it's like, when you're looking at a person like that from the perspective of the youngest stripper in the strip club, and looking at the oldest stripper in the strip club. And by the way, I know it sounds harsh and I tease, but it's not with judgment, because
no,
if you're doing something like that with your life, you understand bitches got to do what bitches got to do. You know what I mean? It's from that standpoint. So those were the only women I was around, was these strippers, and or my mother, or my girlfriends who were already married, on second babies, having a tough go with it. It's like I have to look for something different.
Right.
to get me out of here. Like there has to be out of the box thinking.
I want to fast forward to comedy, but I also want to ask you about this, like being the youngest person there and this fresh face. It seems like you're ripe for getting bullied by other strippers. Like, was that a thing?
You know, when you work in a strip joint, you understand pretty quickly what the rules are. Those were tough biker chick strippers. So it's like, I ain't going anywhere near those bitches customers. I got to get my own customers. You know what I mean? So, you do understand the rules, and then you make friends, and you know, I mean, as fucked up as it is, the club owner will take you under his arm a little bit, you know, for whatever evil purposes. But he's, you know, you're an opportunity to them. If you're a young, fresh, pretty thing, they want you around at least for 6 months to a year, 2 years. Use you up as much as, you know what I mean? So they're going to look after you, like, you know, but you just learn who to stay away from, who to be respectful to, who to tip, you know, who to kiss up to.
Comedian.
Yeah, like it is. Yeah,
who do you respect? Who do you beat up?
Yeah, right. Who has no integrity as a stripper? No. But, you know,
who's a hack?
Like yeah, who's the hack stripper? Yeah.
Who's stealing the moves of others?
And there was like a lawsuit that happened when I was stripping there, because this one girl who was this biker chick, and I guess something happened where some dude was fingering her, and her snatch stole a finger off his ring, and I swear to God.
Oh my God.
And she went into the bathroom and took it off, and then she had to go to court, like this whole, you know, like, so these are the people that you're around. You know what I mean? Understand what you're around.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
On that note, we're going to take a little break.
The case of the snatching snatch.
Hey guys, what's up? I just wanted to tell you that my friend Johnny Pemberton has a new podcast called Twisting the Wind. It's kind of crazy and experimental, and it's awesome, and you have to listen to it at feralaudio.com. If you don't know Johnny, he's so funny. Ironically, the way I met him was he was the guest on the Adam Carolla show when I was the news girl, and we've just had such a bond ever since. And also, you can please donate at weirdadults.com, and you can also use our Amazon affiliate links. But donate, please. Thank you. Bye. Okay, so we're back. I wanna, there's so much I wanna ask. See, the problem is I'm so fascinated by, sexy lady stuff, so I'll just pry about that the whole time.
Uh-huh.
But I want to talk about, Playboy. I want to get this out of the way because I'm excited about it, and then I want to talk about comedy. I swear we'll get to the comedy.
Well, what do you want to know?
Well, okay, so, how did that come about? How did you end up in Playboy? Were you partying and then someone was how did it go?
Well, a lot of stuff happened with the comedy, and I moved to LA, and I did a little bit of stripping in LA when I was first, and I tried taxi dancing, like the stuff they do downtown. Have you ever been downtown?
What's that? No.
It's where it's really big, I think, in the Asian community. At least it was in that time, is you would sit in this room with 20 other chicks, and guys would come in and they would pick you, and then you would have to go sit with them at a table, or sometimes you'd slow down to them or hang out with them in the TV room, and they would pay you for the privilege of doing that. It's really bizarre. And so that was just a little bit too...
I've never heard of that.
Yes, trust me, it goes on. And that's a whole different story, because I had this girlfriend that I met named Tori who used to do that, and she dated this crime boss, this Asian crime boss, and it was some Starsky and Hutch hijinks. So I stopped doing that because that was just too wackadoo. And
wackadoo.
That was too wackadoo. I was like, these people are fucking crazy. Let me go show them my titties where the normal folk are. You know what I mean? Because that was it's more of a mind fuck with your clothes on than with your clothes off. So I went back to stripping, and I stripped at this place called the Jet Strip by the airport here in LA. And I got
sounds like a lovely neighborhood.
Yes,
by the airport.
By the airport. And I had started doing some open mics, and I couldn't get into the Comedy Store because I wasn't 21. I had a hard time even going up on a Monday and trying to get in, because I just looked like I was there to fuck the comedians, apparently. Mm-hmm. Or, you know what I mean? I was just an awkward, odd thing.
Were you a sexy, because I feel like you could go either way. Were you because I dressed down and I dressed like a dork. Were you like that, or were you like, did you dress sexy?
You know what? I didn't. Every grade once in a while, if I had a big show, I would. But I was kind of didn't. Because I was trying to downplay play it. Not like I'm like, because I'm like, I was talking to you the other day, like when I go on an audition or when I did, I was always like the prettiest girl at the goofy chick audition or the goofiest chick at the pretty girl audition.
So
it can go both ways.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
I'm always the fattest girl at the skinny audition and I'm the skinniest girl at the fat audition.
Yeah. So
I get you.
Yeah. So you're just,
we're misfits in a big way.
Yeah. I had to wait till I was 21 to get at the Comedy Store. So when I finally got passed by Mitzi at the Comedy Store, Playboy was looking for, they wanted to do a women in comedy spread. And it's...
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah, they did that like a year before I was in it. And there wasn't that many women comedians. I mean, we're talking Carol Leifer, Carol Siskin, Elaine Boozler. Like, there wasn't very many people in LA at that time, girl comedians. She had some girl comics at the Comedy Store, but they did impressions or whatever. And so they used a bunch of girls that weren't comedians, and I just thought, they asked me to do it, and I just thought, I'm kind of a pro at this. First of all, it wasn't about I didn't want to be in Playboy. It was about, if you're going to show your vagina, don't be in a group picture with other chicks showing their vagina. It has to be the star vagina. I mean, let's get down to brass tacks. That's just how it has to be. You know what I mean?
You gotta keep it classy. You learn that
in a strip club. Yeah, it's got to be classy, and you know what I mean.
You take top billing only.
Yeah. I'm not the
paid
girl
my dues.
washing them. I'm not going to be the bitch washing the mirror during car wash. You know what I mean?
You're damn straight.
So I said no. And then...
So you said no to Playboy.
I said no to Playboy. And I kept doing my comedy. And then there was a show called Star Search. And I had auditioned in a year probably 20 times on Star Search. And over like a year and a half, maybe 2 year period of time, I had auditioned a lot. But I was never...
With your stand-up?
With my stand-up. But my stand-up has always been very dirty. Because I started at the store. Your stand-up's going to be dirty. That's how it was. This isn't the time of Kinnison. This is where, this was a crazy fucking time,
That's actually true, because I know that when I started at the store, the way that I sort of got my footing was by doing dirty little girl jokes. So
right,
that's
exactly.
Sort of how I first got, noticed.
Yeah.
Which I also want to ask you, who was like, just so I can put, like, who was like the hot guys or the hot comics at the store when you were starting?
At that time, it was about 2 years before Kinnison hit big. Mm-hmm. So he was king, even though, it was right before, probably a year and a half, 2 years before his HBO special. Bill Hicks wasn't there anymore. But it was a sick time. Pryor would come on stage. Tom Hanks, he was filming that movie Punchline. He came up and did sets. Roseanne Barr, who I knew in Colorado and was my buddy in Colorado, who stayed at my house to audition at the Comedy Store. The first night she auditioned, she got the Tonight Show. Like, this was a time when it was standing room only at the Comedy Store. This was in its heyday. Billy Idol would pull up. Billy Idol would pull up in his with his motorcycle gang. Bruce Willis was always in the back hall doing something Bruce Willis-y. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, understand that this was Arsenio Hall before he had the Arsenio Hall show. This was Yakov Smirnoff. This was like this whole,
So it was a big deal to be around.
This was like, it was pretty crazy. It was real, and there was cocaine and drugs, and it was like a fucking Russian novel. All the characters, it was fucking crazy. What was Mark Maron was a door guy.
Oh, okay.
Mark Maron was the fucking door guy. and when you would walk by him, because he was so crazy, then you'd be like, ugh. You know what I mean? And I love Mark Maron.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, it was fucking craziness. It was name anybody. It was crazy.
Well, what was Roseanne like? Because you were friends with her before, and then she just like, were you guys cool? And
she was, we had done a couple of gigs together in Colorado. Like when I did comedy for about a year in Colorado, we got stuck in the snow once doing comedy and had to push the car out of a snowbank and get a tire. You know, like that's how I knew her. Like I didn't ever meet her kids, or I wasn't super friendly, but friendly enough to where it's like, hey, when you're in LA, you can stay at my pad. And she was, you know, she's not hiding who she is, and she was always very straight to me and a good person to me. She never gave me anything, but why would she? You know what I mean? Like I never asked her for anything, because there was a time after she got the Tonight Show and during the first year of her sitcom where her life changed completely. And we went to Fatburger together, and she was just sitting there like, everyone now wants everything from me. Like all my friends from Colorado, everyone wants anything. And I was just sitting there, and I just thought, I'm never going to ask her for anything. That's just not going to be my path, which has fucked me so hard. You know what I mean? I should ask everybody for everything. But I was just like, I don't ever want to be that kind of person.
No.
You know, so it was a pretty crazy time.
And so then so with Playboy, so you said no.
I said no, and then I won. I got to go on Star Search finally.
Oh,
and I won Star Search.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a big deal, right?
Yeah, it was pretty fucking awesome. It was really awesome. It was really fucking awesome. There was this part, for you people that are too young to understand, Star Search was like the American Idol of the 80s and early 90s. And there was this moment when I won Star Search, and everyone was going apeshit in the audience, and Ed McMahon's over here, and they got the model spokes chicks over there, and and they announced that I won. That I thought, man, if these people only knew what I did to get here. That was because that was in a time you didn't fucking tell anyone. In fact, when I was very nervous at that time that it would come out that I was a stripper. So when Playboy came to me again, I thought to myself, they're going to give me a lot of money now, and let's just pull the trigger off of it.
Oh.
To me, that, you know, even though I didn't say that, to me it was like, what, you know, if I do Playboy, what are they going to say? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, and the truth of the matter is, I wanted some really beautiful pictures.
Yeah.
Because I grew up like looking at my dad's Playboys, you know, like, you know, thinking, oh, that's, you know, I think it's beautiful. So, and then I did the Playboy. That's how I got Playboy. And
so they did like a write-up on you about being this winner of Star Search.
Yeah.
With Star Search, like a winner every season?
Once a season, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. But they had different categories. Like they had singing and comedy and dancing.
How did you, because your material was dirty, how did you get it together?
I got so very lucky because, you know, by this time they had done quite a few seasons of Star Search. So they were, you know, there weren't as many comedians as there is now. Like now, you know, there are probably more comedians than there are teachers in this fucking country. You know what I mean? Like when you go on your Facebook and you got 2,200 common friends, like that's all comedy business. You know, there's so many of them now, but then there weren't as many. And so the way they did that show is they did 2 jags of filming. The first, they would do like 6 weeks of filming, and then they would follow that with, you know, or it could have been 4 weeks, whatever, a certain amount of filming. So how the finals would work is the person that won the most or is the champion of the first part of the season goes against the person that is the semifinalist or finalist of the second part, and then you guys go head to head. And when I did it, you know who Carrot Top is, right?
Yeah.
He was one of the guys on that show. Yeah, it was crazy. I was so worried I'd have to go against him, but then he got knocked out by somebody else. I know, it's so fucking. And then when I went against this guy Bob Zaney, I don't know if you would know who that is, but Bob Zaney did this thing where he takes a balloon out of his pocket and he starts doing a balloon animal. And I believe when I went against him, he took the balloon out and it popped. And this is like for the semifinals. And I was like backstage like, no fucking way. You know what I mean? His balloon popped. You know what I mean? Like, God is shining on me right now. You know, or whatever, you know. It was pretty crazy. It was really fun.
Wow, that's so cool.
So I only had to do like literally four 3-minute sets.
Oh shit, that's
To
awesome.
become, yeah, but let me tell you how it was. All my friends were shitting their pants for me. I had comedians come up to me and go, "Look, bro, you might want to take this joke I have, you know." And I was like, there was a moment when I was up for the finals because the winner got $100,000.
Oh
So-
shit,
oh,
you won
yeah,
$100,000.
I won $100,000.
Oh shit, homegirl
So-
came a long way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I won $100,000 when I did that. So all my friends were like, I'm going to give you this joke. You know, like they were all had my back at the Comedy Store, but I was just like, you know what? I could totally do those jokes. But then the rest of my life, people would be like, oh, that's a bitch where everyone felt so sad they gave her a joke. So I was like, no, fuck, but no.
I got this.
I have to do this on my own shitty jokes, but thank you. And then thank God I only had to go 4 because I did not have more than 12 minutes worth of clean material. That's my story.
Wow. And so after that, then what? Did you tour? You were on Full House, right?
Yeah, that was after I did the Playboy. I did because I was at the very best, beginning to middle when that happened, and so I got to headline right away, very quickly at it, you know.
And how old were you when you went Star Search?
I was, I'd been at the Comedy Store. I would think, it's hard for me to. I was probably 27, 28.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd been doing comedy then, bouncing around. And I had a few other weird things, random things, like I did a show called Funny, and it was like had a bunch of comedians in it, and produced by this guy named George Slaughter who did Laugh-In. But I wasn't doing comedy. I was just some chick, like a spokesmodel type chick, but I was the funny one,
Right.
Which I hope no one ever has that because I would just cringe all the hell high hell if I ever saw that. So, and then I did the Playboy, and then that's also how I got to headline on the road.
Playboy?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny because when I was like a really little kid, I did video, like science video acting work.
Yeah.
And it's just funny because I've never seen any of that stuff. So I'm like, if I saw myself like talking about little science experiments, I would probably like hide under my bed for a year.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that you do in your career
Yeah.
that's like, whoa. But I mean, I guess I was a little kid, so I can't really be judgmental. But
Yeah. It's funny to me when I did first start doing comedy, that's when I kind of drank a little bit and partied a little bit, because take your clothes off sober, yeah, that's fine, but to get on stage, you know what I mean?
It's a little
Someone
weird.
better give me a Long Island iced tea up in here.
Well, that's another thing too that's so interesting about coming from the background of just not giving a fuck and being naked and dancing. It's like, how can you even be a little bit scared of stand-up when you have so much self-confidence from this other performance?
But you don't, because it's two different muscles.
That's true.
You don't,
That's truth.
yeah. I mean, I think doing the stripping gave me the balls to watch this. Hello?
What's happening?
Nothing. What are you doing?
Oh, nothing. What's up with you? Like a little why or something?
No, I'm actually here with Little Esther doing her podcast.
Okay, all right. Do your thing. Call me on the way down.
Okay. Okay, bye.
Joey?
Joey, that was Joey.
Joey Diaz. That was his cameo on my podcast.
Now you can say he was on it. He's never done your podcast?
No, I have to get him in
Yeah,
here.
you have to
I
totally
thought
get
that's what was going to happen last week, but then he was like, no, you're doing ours.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So where were we? Oh, yeah, it's two very different things.
Yeah,
being a
it is
stripper and
two
a
different
comedian.
muscles. And at that time, I was so paranoid of people finding out. In fact, one time when I
Oh.
was stripping at the airport, some comics came in that I recognized from an open mic, and I had to go on stage. It was my turn. And I begged all the other girls, please take my spot. But they were like, nope. Miss Fancy Pants, you're going to have to squirm this one out, bitch. I had to go out there and do my thing. So fucking embarrassing.
And they never said anything to me. But years later, like after I went Star Search and stuff, if I see them in clubs, it'd be like they give me the little wink, wink, like, we know about you, bitch. We know, not like meow, more like you fucking, you know what I mean? If I ever need help, you better help me because we're not going to want to spill this information.
Wow. And well, by then, I mean, you were already doing Playboy, so it was like, fuck off.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons. Just like, let's put it out on the table because I don't want to have to hide this, you know?
Right.
Again, just take a good picture of it. And it was fun doing the Playboy thing. Was really interesting.
It sounds fun. And like you have this timeless, beautiful.
Yeah, it was fun.
You know?
It was fun to see just like for me, like doing the stripping and doing the comedy and doing the Playboy. And there's so many other examples of it in my life, but it's just like, I just want to see what that is all about. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, all right, I'll show my vagina, whatever. But I want to see like, what does a photographer do? Like, are there going to be lights? Like, I want to see how it goes on. What's the operation? How do people work together? And like, to me, that's always been very interesting. Like, I do a lot of photography.
Yeah.
And I stopped doing comedy for 9 years and I've been back at it 3 years. And during that period, I was very serious about photography and I went to film school, did film stuff in NYU and all sorts of things because I'm very curious about how did they make that. I made a couple short films, you know, and they won a couple of festivals, but just like, I just want to see what that's about. Like the podcast I do with Joey Diaz, Beauty and the Beast. You want to do a podcast? Yeah, I'm excited. Let's just go down to Guitar Center and fucking look at microphone. Like I get all like, I just want to see how that works, you know?
Yeah.
That's why when I came in here, it's like, oh, you guys, this is how this works. All right.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I know. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm like that too, though. Like I get excited about new stuff and I just want to learn and see, like, what do you do? That's how I am with porn stars. Like I'm like, oh, what is it like? What happens? I want to see.
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
just so many like things that we don't know about, and it's just fun. I think that's why podcasting is cool because you get to like hear all these weird stories about you being, you know, you go from being a stripper to the winner of Star Search.
Like when I do my podcast, and it's such a cocksuckery thing to say when I do my podcast, but
No.
the greatest thing is just to learn how to listen to other people's experience so that you can feel like you've lived through that experience. I mean, it's such a cool thing, you know? It's interesting. Very interesting.
I'm curious because it seems like you've done so many different things in comedy. Like what was the thing that was like the best? Like was it winning Star Search? Like what was it, or something else? Like where you're like, oh, this is awesome. This is a favorite moment.
Well, there are a lot of favorite moments, and you know, sometimes you don't recognize what that moment is until you've had years to kind of place it.
Yeah.
I'd have to say like a great memory that I'm going to have. One of them is when I lived in New York, Mitch Hedberg lived in New York, and I went and worked as the assistant director and line producer on his one feature he made, and that got into Sundance. And we went to Minneapolis, what is it? St. Paul, actually, right? And he rented like this apartment in a flop house, and we made a movie. He made the movie. I was the assistant director, and Mark Maron was in it. Dave Attell was in it. Like a bunch of comedians were in it. And it was a great experience to have that memory of that. And unfortunately, he passed, but tied to that great moment is a moment that's not so great, but enlightened that moment for me, and that was after he passed, going into a Starbucks. And you know how like they have the chalkboard in some Starbucks where they will write like someone's quote, you know what I mean, like a Greek philosopher or Dorothy Parker or something, and there was a Hedberg quote like in that order. And why making that film with him is so amazing is because it put him into perspective and put people around me in perspective of, you know, I knew someone that put words together that people admire, you know, whatever part you admire about it, you know, like that's really cool, you know. And I've had a lot of moments like that with comedy, like when I won Funniest Female Comic at the American Comedy Awards. This is right before I quit comedy. I was at the Improv, And Richard Pryor was there, and Bud Friedman gave me a toast with Richard Pryor. It was that night after the Star Search. Comedy Awards. We all went to the Improv, and there was a big party, and he gave me a toast in the same breath as Richard Pryor. And like, those moments are pretty fucking strong, you know.
Yeah.
And this is when Pryor was in a wheelchair and in ill health at that time. So, you know, you get to a point in comedy, and I think this is in any kind of work, where it's okay if you're not the biggest star, because you get to walk amongst the biggest stars.
I feel that.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, I did my little thing. I did my little fucking dirty girl agenda, and, you know, it's more accessible now. And maybe I had one penny of the idea in, you know, or one little toe in the foot of that idea of women can say whatever they fucking want to say, whether you believe that or not, or I believe that or not. But it's just, you come to a point where you're just like, I'm just happy to be here and adding whatever small contribution that I'm adding.
Amongst everyone.
Amongst everyone. I mean, the fact that I got to see fucking Pryor, you know, the fact that I got to yell at Mitch Hedberg in the hallway of this fucking flop house to get his shit together and fucking, you know, make the list. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the fact that I got to hang out with Sam Kinison, and he tried to fuck me in my own bed because his Ferrari broke down. He lost his keys under my bed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have all these moments that are just like, wow, I have a very lucky life.
You have stuff to be excited about.
Yeah, exactly. And it continues because now I'm doing comedy again. And we were talking earlier about like Duncan Trussell, or how lucky am I? How did I step in shit where I get to do a podcast with Joey Diaz? Please, motherfuckers, please. You know?
That's sort of how I feel about my podcast with Brody. Like, it's just so, it was random how it came together, but it's like, yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Like, I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll end on that note. And I want to know, like, where can people find you and see you and all that?
Well, like I said, I do a podcast with Joey Diaz called Beauty and the Beast. And we just did our first little tour together up in San Francisco and Sacramento. And
Which I heard that you were
awesome.
Unfollowable, and you were incredible.
He's a very generous person, Joey Diaz. But it's really interesting to see, like, someone that's been in comedy so long finally get their due as Joey Diaz. It's really, you know, and I never had ever in comedy where, you know, how many comedians do you know where you're like, let's do this, let's write a script together, and then you never fucking hear from them again, right? That I have a partner like Joey Diaz is pretty amazing, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway.
I love Joey. My parents are obsessed with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We talked about that, which everyone should go listen to the episode of your podcast. Yes,
and it's going to go up tomorrow. I don't know when yours is going to go up.
At the same time.
Oh, really?
Oh, interesting.
No.
We'll be competing.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for
You're
sharing
welcome.
all of this. And that's it. And Felicia Michaels, you know, on Twitter. And performing with Joey and podcast.
We're going to do a tour in, I think, November in the Ohio area together.
Cool.
And you can look for dates on beautyandthebeast.com or FeliciaMichaels.net or JoeyCocadiaz.net. He'll have his dates there, too.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye.
FairLaudio.com is an artist-friendly podcast collective hosted by Castmates.fm. Host our own podcast at Castmates.fm. Today, all of our artists reserve the rights to their materials. Your donations directly support our favorite artists, help pay for their show's production, and keep your favorite shows free. Music by The Fancy, wearethefancy.net. Visit FairLaudio.com for other original shows and learn about our community of artists that help make this collective possible. Thank you for listening to this podcast.